the Power in Numbers project has published 4 reports, and that is all that they're planning on doing as part of this, that really focused on exploring educational technology opportunities specific to adult education. So I'm going to provide just a really quick overview of each of those 4, but they're about 25 pages each, so there's a lot of room to dive into and get familiar with some of the research in there. So the first one is the Math Gap, and that one showcases the potential for technology to really enhance the learning of advanced math skills for adults, and they identified a 3 A's approach to adult ed tech, which focused on accessibility, adaptability, and applicability. Accessibility encapsulates the ease in which the learners and the educators can access the tools, and also addresses the discoverability and usability of resources, as well as the degree to which those resources promote frictionless learning so that you can really get in and use it easily. Adaptability focuses on the flexibility of the different tools, as well as how reusable and affordable they are. So like if the educator licenses make sense and are reusable and affordable to a program, as well as how well they align to different standards and andragogical approaches. And applicable is about making it contextualized and being designed with our users in mind. So we wanted to be aligned to career pathways and credentials and really impact learner mindset, not just learner knowledge. So we want to give opportunities for students to use their curiosity and be able to puzzle out some problems. In the second report, Multiplying Impact, they examined opportunity areas that you could use technology to drive impact. So those key areas are listed here: supplementing, not replacing the instructor, designing for life, engaging the learner, building the community, and connecting the dots. World Ed did some user testing using these findings from the Multiplying Impact report, and their findings really reinforced what the project, or Power in Numbers project, had identified. So they said designing for life, it's really helpful if you can use mobile technologies so that students have access, no matter where they are, to learning and critical employment opportunities, and that the best tools understand users' communication preferences and they give them multiple ways to access the content. Additionally, simple, accessible onboarding is really helpful. So if they can get rid of like registration requirements, that makes a big difference in leading to large-scale use among adults, especially those with lower digital literacy or basic skills. Engaging the learner really means incorporating rich and diverse media, so incorporating video, audio, photo, and other graphics, and making it more engaging, especially to users that have limited literacy or English language proficiency, rather than being heavily text-based. You can build the community through personal connections, so that may be using a blended approach when you're using a technology component. Some include supports like human coaches or chat support, but that can also be our role as teachers to make sure that we're providing the community component as we're incorporating ed technology. And then connecting the dots through screening in, and what that means is rather than screening out populations, screening in is bringing the right opportunities to those overlooked populations through competency, experience, and assessments. And the report really dives into each of those components and gives you some additional information. The third report focused on developing EdTech tools and identified 3 different pathways. Each of these pathways shows that it takes a really connected community to develop and deploy successful EdTech. I think as educational partners, our role would be to seek out research and data surrounding how effective the different tools are so that we can make informed purchase decisions, and to engage in ongoing professional development so that we can effectively integrate these tech tools. And then the fourth and final report provided some insight from the previous 3 papers, as well as some case studies that illustrated how those organizations have implemented best practices in the real world. And so kind of just wrapped up the entire project. A second key component of this Power in Numbers project is the development of open education resources. And open education resources just means that they're in the public domain. They're things that have been released under a license so that teachers can use them or repurpose them legally. So they may be teaching, learning, or research resources. And there are a lot of benefits to using OER. You can reduce your cost because these are free to use materials. It increases efficiency by giving educators materials that can be repurposed and adapted for multi-level classrooms. You can improve your instruction through informal professional development, as creating and revising this OER supports content mastery. It encourages contextualization by using materials tailored and personalized to learners' needs and contexts, and expands access and equity by presenting pragmatic, low-cost options, which is always a good thing in our sometimes resource-constrained environments. So some of the resources that they've created are a step-by-step guide to OER that gives you instructions for how to identify, review, remix different OER resources, as well as a list of recommended online resources and some tips on how to get started with online or open education resources. And then there's also a page that includes resources that were curated and tested by the user group, and there's links to those resources and curriculum guides that go along with them. So all of this material is on the project webpage that I will give you the link to at the end of the presentation, and I'll also post that link up on this YouTube page as soon as I'm done presenting so that you can get to it. But all of this is available on links on the Power of Numbers website. So that was really fast going through those couple of components, because what I wanted to focus on for today's webinar was the use of these adult learner stories. I think it's really powerful when we can hear from learners and their successes, particularly to your learners, when they're hearing it from others that they can relate to. And it gives us as educators an opportunity to drive some discussion with them. So the adult learner stories component of the Power in Numbers project is a 3-part video series that comes with a discussion guide. It tells the stories of adult learners and the skills that they developed by going back to school. Each of these 3 videos is really short. They're 2 to 3 minutes each, and they're available in both Spanish and English. So if you wanted to incorporate them into an ELL classroom, you could do that as well. And the goal of that series is to help motivate adult learners so that they can see stories of how other learners have overcome obstacles, to give them some context of how advanced math might be used in real-life applications, and to promote discussion of the challenges and motivations that come with pursuing advanced math. And how they recommend using this series in the classroom is just to develop a viewing schedule that works for you. You could do it by viewing them all together and having this be the main focus of a class period. You could do it during kind of your first day orientation to the course to get to know the students and their motivations. You could do it as you're wrapping up a course and helping students transition on to their next step. So as you watch the video series, think about what may work best for your context and your learners. So then you would just introduce the series, let the students know that you're going to be talking about motivations and their concerns about math. After you've viewed them, encourage group discussion on the themes, and then follow up if possible by extending the lesson, and I'll give you some suggestions of how you may be able to do that. But I want to actually show you those video clips. And I tried to embed these, but I don't think it's playing nicely with me. So let me jump out of my PowerPoint and flip over to the website. So this is the Power in Numbers project site. It's on Links. Links.ed.gov is a really fabulous resource for all things adult education professional development. You can see that we've selected the State Resources tab here, and then Federal Initiatives, and there's several federal initiatives here. They have resources on adult career pathways, English language learners. Learning to Achieve is a series about working with students with disabilities. Power in Numbers specifically is about working with students developing math skills. So there's quite a few really fantastic resources here. But when you go to this Power in Numbers page, you can see the adult learner stories. And the first one that we're going to hear from is Angelo.
I like to build things. I love to create, but nothing's made all at once. You have to get momentum and keep moving forward. Momentum works both ways. You can be heading in the wrong direction or the positive direction. In high school, I was behind in my academics. I was distracted by friends and having too much fun. When I had my child, I got a different focus and different perspective in life. I want to make the lives of people better through environmental technology in my community. I failed my first time when I took my high school equivalency diploma. When I got into college, I failed an algebra class. I did not stop there or give up. The next semester, I took it again and I passed it with an A. Sometimes you may have to fail in order to keep going. You will always learn from your failure. Math gives you the knowledge, skills, and credentials to pursue what you want to do in your career. Obtaining my associate's degree set me on the right direction to obtaining my bachelor's in business administration. Now I'm beginning my master's in environmental technology and sustainability this upcoming fall. I never thought that I can go for my master's, but I kept challenging myself and I'm still continuing to. My path wasn't always clear. I faced many setbacks and roadblocks. However, I maintained the focus and the vision that I always had. I want to be the #1 role model for my son. I want to make him proud, knowing that his father faced challenges, but he still accomplished his goals.
All right, well, that was Angelo talking about momentum. The second video is Lakeisha's story, and her focus is on building persistence.
After dropping out of high school at 17, I started working in the jewelry industry. I worked my way up. When the economy collapsed, I was laid off. The first time when I walked into the welfare office, they don't see me. I'm just another statistic in their eyes. They don't know my story. They didn't know the fire that was inside of me. Even though I was scared and nervous, I wanted to take ownership of my future. I have been working at a nonprofit for almost a decade. It's a place of dedication to push women to be the best that they can be. I was once a client, and the young lady that worked with me was spectacular. She gave me a 3-piece suit and helped me with my resume and mock interview skills. Going back to school was not easy. I had 2 children. I did not have a job. It took a lot of dedication, but my children were proud of me, and that's all that mattered. I knew that I was going to fail algebra. Being an older individual in math class made me nervous. I was intimidated by younger individuals getting it so quickly, but I took really good notes and I built friendships that helped me. I would copy their notes and I would go home and say, okay, this is how they did it. And I would study just like that. I got better and I aced his class the next semester. Being persistent helped me earn my high school equivalency diploma, and being persistent helped me earn my bachelor's degree. And being persistent has allowed me to empower thousands of women in New York City over the course of my life. When my son needs help with math, I am able to help him by looking through my notes, finding the exact type of problems that he is. It's a learning process. Him how to be done without giving.
All right, it sounded like we were getting just a little bit garbled on the audio, and I think that's on my end, so I'm going to skip this last video, but you have access to it on that Power in Numbers page. Really similar, Mohammed's story focuses on overcoming doubt. So how you would use those in the classroom, let me flip back over to my presentation. Oh, and it took me all the way back to the beginning. Talking about ed tech always means that the technology messes with you, right? there we go. So the suggestion is that you could show these in your classes and then use that to drive some discussion. So some sample prompts that you may use would be just talking about what similarities the students see between the stories and the videos in their own life, where they could see math coming in handy in their own situations. Have they ever said, you know, I hate math, or I'm just not a math person, and what could they do to try to change that mindset and overcome it? And then just talking about their goals. Why are you in this class? What is this going to allow you to do next because you're upskilling your math abilities? And that's just a couple of the sample prompts. There is a discussion guide that goes along with the videos that you could use to kind of facilitate that process. And then ideally you would extend beyond that classroom discussion. And so some suggestions of things that you might do to extend is if you were doing face-to-face classes, you might include some journaling activities, either as a warm-up or a warm-down. That might be a wrap-up to that classroom discussion, or it may be something that you incorporate on an ongoing basis to do a little bit of journaling. And that gives them something that they can save. So you can return to that later in the semester and have the students reflect on how their own thoughts have evolved over the course of a class. In a blended learning approach, you could do different apps. Things like Poll Everywhere can be really great for some short group reflections with journals that they may be able to share with others. You can ask them questions like, when you hear algebra, what do you think? Share one word in response and then look at those responses as they come in. You can do word clouds and those type of activities and discuss any themes or patterns that start to pop up. With a distance learning option, you can use Google Docs to allow students to collaborate and organize their math journals into a single place, and that way they have the ability to kind of pick and choose who they share with, and teachers can provide feedback in the comments. So I would really encourage you to have those opportunities to kind of have those counseling moments with students, because I know math in particular is an area that a lot of students just need a little bit of a confidence boost, and that can help to increase their motivation and their persistence. And so I want to show you guys how to access those materials. So all of it is on links.ed.gov that I was just showing you. So if you go under state resources, then federal initiatives, then power in numbers. Another way to do that is if you just go to links.ed.gov, they have a search box, and if you put in power in numbers, you're going to find all of those project resources. I will link to that in the chat on this YouTube page as well, because in addition to accessing these videos, I would encourage you to go back and look at those open education resources, because there's some really great lesson plans incorporated in there and curriculum guides as far as how you could incorporate those. So thank you for joining me. We're going to be back in 2 weeks for our next installment, and we're going to be talking with Cell Ed. So along the lines of incorporating ed technology, that's an interesting resource that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. So if there's anything that I can do to support you, feel free to reach out to me. That's my email address there. And thank you.